Well, going back to the Someone to Watch
Yeah.
award, how much pressure did you feel after that? Because I'm sure it's a great feeling, it's elating, but then there's also this new pressure that I've got to follow up with something wonderful. And so C.O.G.
It's funny because I remember we were in negotiations with David for the rights when I won that. So it was strange because there was all these press interviews and they're like, what are you doing next? There's someone to watch it, what are you doing? And I couldn't talk about it yet because I think it was just super, I would have loved to have, but it would have been almost preempt. It would have been way too preemptive. You know, until something's signed, I feel like it's not respectful to talk about it. But I remember at the time feeling like it felt good because I had this dream thing. Like the timing felt so. That was probably like one of the high moments of like my life. Like I won this award, which is surreal and it did great for me. It helped. I used that money to pay for the option, which I would have never been able to afford on my own otherwise. And then I had my next thing, and in some ways, that was a mistake and not a mistake. Like what it was is I went, okay, I have my next thing and this is what I'm gonna make. And because this was David and he gave me the rights and it was a once in a lifetime thing, possibly for him and definitely for me, I was totally willing and ready to put all my eggs in that basket. But the life lesson, not that I've learned because that implies I did something wrong, but the life lesson I've gained from it is that the independent film industry is just too fickle to have only one thing going on. You know, I tried to generate another project and it got really close to happening, but ultimately my heart was always still in C.O.G. Like I couldn't let go of that. And I'm glad I did that. But I also know now moving forward that I've got to have like 4 things. I've got to have like 5 things. You know, it's almost not fair to that project to put that much of yourself into it until it's really ready to go, because there's so many other elements that have nothing to do with you, nothing to do with your persistence or passion or ambition. It just has everything to do with literally people's schedules and money and how cheaply can something be made or not. And there's so many other things in place, and then you almost put too much. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship with someone, you can't expect them to deliver all of your happiness. You kind of need to find it yourself. And I sort of expected C.O.G. to deliver all my happiness. So I kind of went through this really dark period where no one wanted to make it. And it was kind of like, and I understand why they didn't want to make it. It's a darker film. It doesn't wear Sedaris' voice on its sleeve. There's no voiceover in it. It's funny. I think it's funny, but it's also got this whole other angle to it that's challenging and divisive and all of these things. And that's what I wanted it to be. So I didn't want to relent on that. So, and I didn't want to relent on some of my creative control over the project. So it just took longer to get made. But I don't think it would have been as emotionally difficult for me had I diversified myself more, you know? So one of my goals now, like in life, is to just sort of like, I've got something that hopefully is gonna go this summer. I can't talk about it yet, but it's a really exciting project. I could not be happier that goes this summer, but at the same time, like I'm reading a lot of scripts, I'm reading a lot of books, like I'm trying to find something to do next. I'm trying to find material, you know, to get excited about in the meantime, so that I'm not throwing all of my energy into that one thing.
Do you thrive on that, sort of that unknown area? Because it's like, it's exciting and it's also scary at the same time? Is that something that you like?
I always say that like every time I open up a script, because I'd love to make something that I haven't written, you know, that someone else wrote. I always say that when I open a script, I always love the first page, no matter what. You know what I mean? I want to love it. Like I start out loving it, and then usually it's like by page 10, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna, you know. That's why I've only ever, I read so many scripts, not to say that people are sending them to me, but the agency sends them to me. And I read so many, and I think in the 3 years I've had agents, I've only ever gone in like 3 times out of maybe hundreds of scripts. You know, it's like, because you want to love it, and it's hard to find that match. I think that's why I ultimately will end up writing and directing more than I just direct. But when you do find that match, then it's the best. David Fincher talked about it. He was like, when you read a script and you love it and you want to make it, that first feeling you have is what you always have to hold on. This isn't a direct quote, but he's like, you always have to hold on to that, because the process of getting the film made is everyone stripping away from what you initially loved about it. You know, and so the way to keep the film true to what your intentions were is to try to just remember that first like spark you had, the first thing you really loved about it. And C.O.G. is definitely like a testament to that. Like there are 3 or 4 moments, 3 or 4 scenes that I knew I always wanted to be realized. That's sort of what kept me going, and so I use those as like the cornerstones. You know, I always said, even when it comes down, because we had to make the movie way cheaper than it had been initially budgeted or written to be, and you kind of go, okay, well, these are the moments that have to deliver. These are the moments we need half a day to shoot, not just a quarter day. Or these are the moments where, hey, the location's got to be better because it's got to look like that, you know, where you have to fight to make sure those things stay true. Granted, someone like David Fincher can have the time and money to make sure every moment stays true to that. But on independent film, you're just like, you gotta shoot it, and if it doesn't happen, you just have to keep on going, you know. But to have a project that has 4 or 5 or even 3 or 4 moments like that you feel are going to be the high points of the film, and then make sure you stay true to those no matter what, then I think it'll work, you know, as long as everything's sort of built around that. Kind of like an action movie, you know. You not that you should build an action movie around action sequences, but if you find you want to make sure those moments are there, and I think C.O.G. has a few of those where there's like a spin on a certain character or a moment, something unexpected, and those are the ones I always wanted to build the movie around.